Have you ever wondered why you're still here, still breathing, still waking up with a sense that something's missing, even when everything around you seems fine? That feeling deep inside you, the one that whispers there's more to your life than what you're living, is not random. It's purpose calling. It's a quiet reminder that you were made for something greater, something beyond routine and survival. You are not an accident. No matter what you were told, no matter how life began for you, you were created with intention. You didn't just show up in this world, you were sent, formed with a unique design, a specific mission planted inside your soul. Before anyone else had an opinion about you, before you were even aware of your own existence, a divine plan was already in motion. That's why you feel that pull inside, a quiet ache for meaning, for truth, for direction. But life tries to bury that voice. Pain shuts it down. Disappointment makes you doubt it. The opinions of others drown it out. Maybe you've made mistakes, maybe you've been rejected, overlooked, or misunderstood, but none of that disqualifies you. The plan hasn't been erased. It's still alive, still beating in the background of your life, waiting for you to pay attention again. You might feel like you're behind, like everyone else has figured it out, but you're still wandering. But hear this clearly. If you're still here, the purpose for your life is still intact. You have not missed it. You're not too late. The timing you think is off might actually be perfect. What you see as delays, God sees as preparation. What you call confusion, He calls transformation. You don't have to be perfect to live out your purpose. You just have to be willing to stop running from the voice inside you, willing to stop comparing, stop doubting, and start trusting that your life is not a random sequence of events. It's a journey shaped by divine hands, with a destination that only you can reach. No one else can do what you were born to do. Everything you've experienced has been building something in you. Even the pain had a purpose. The setbacks taught you strength. The silence taught you to listen. You were never being punished, you were being prepared. And now is the time to rise, to lean into that inner calling and say yes. Yes to the process, yes to the unknown, yes to the belief that your life matters deeply. Stay with this message. Keep watching, because once you understand that you were created on purpose, for a purpose, everything in your life starts to change. The fear loses power, the doubt begins to fade, and you finally begin to walk not in confusion, but in clarity. Not in fear, but in faith. Not in survival, but in purpose. That's the reward waiting for you if you choose to believe what's already true. You are here for a reason, and that reason still lives. Here is a powerful and emotionally charged script outline in 4 equally detailed sections, each to be written as 500 words in final script form for the title. God's plan for you, or understanding your purpose. Each section is designed to build psychological engagement, emotional power, and internal momentum toward transformation and action. The tone is motivational, simple, intense, and direct, perfect for a faceless voiceover delivery. Section 1, You Were Chosen. Before you even knew it, this section opens with a gripping emotional question that hooks the viewer instantly. It establishes the core idea that no one is here by accident. Each life is divinely designed. It emphasizes that the search for purpose is not about earning worth, but awakening to what already exists within. It challenges viewers to stop comparing, stop doubting, and begin accepting their identity as someone intentionally created with meaning. The tone is uplifting, empowering, and firm, planting the seed of transformation through faith and self-belief. Key psychological triggers: identity, destiny, meaning, overcoming self-doubt, emotional goal, reignite belief that they are not forgotten, but chosen. Motivational hook: you were made for more, and it's time to remember why. Section 2, the pain was not pointless, how struggles shape purpose. This section dives into the emotional reality of hardship. It acknowledges confusion, betrayal, fear, and feeling stuck, not as signs of failure, but as stages in divine preparation. It draws on the power of reframing pain, showing how wounds can become wisdom. It speaks directly to those who feel like they've lost too much or waited too long, and reminds them that nothing in their journey has been wasted. It motivates the viewer to see their struggles as sacred, necessary, and strength-building. Key psychological triggers: resilience, meaning from suffering; emotional reframing, emotional goal; shift mindset from regret to power. Motivational hook: What felt like breaking was really building. Section 3, you are being led, even when it feels like silence. This section focuses on the seasons of confusion, stillness, and waiting. It speaks to those who feel forgotten or unsure of the next step. It reminds them that divine timing often feels slow, but is deeply strategic. It explains how purpose is often formed in the unseen, and how trust must be greater than sight. The viewer is invited to let go of control, stop striving, and begin listening. This part encourages patience, spiritual alignment, and quiet courage. Key psychological triggers: surrender, trust, letting go. Hidden growth, emotional goal, create inner peace during external uncertainty. Motivational hook, even in silence, you are not alone. You are being prepared. Section 4, now is the time. Step into what you were born for. The final section is a call to action. It builds urgency and clarity, declaring that purpose isn't waiting for perfection. It's activated through courage. It dismantles fear by focusing on obedience, trust, and small daily steps. It calls the viewer to rise, speak, create, serve, and move forward without delay. This section closes with a surge of emotional and spiritual empowerment, pushing the audience into bold alignment with the plan they were created for. Key psychological triggers: urgency, empowerment, agency, decision-making, emotional goal, inspire immediate action and commitment to purpose. Motivational hook, you don't need a sign, this is it. It's time to become who you were born to be. Let me know when you're ready for the full script for Section 2, or if you'd like to begin with another section first. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why you're here, not just alive, but here, in this moment, in this season, with the exact experiences, dreams, and struggles you carry? It's easy to feel like you're just floating through life, trying to figure things out as you go. But what if your existence isn't random? What if there's a plan that began before you were even born, and you were part of it? You weren't placed on this earth by mistake. No one else may have seen your worth when you entered the world. Maybe you've even questioned your value. But the truth is, you were chosen long before anyone else had an opinion about your life. You were crafted with care, shaped with intention. There is a purpose for your life that is bigger than your past, stronger than your fears, and more meaningful than anything you've been told to chase. You may not see it yet. You may feel like you're drifting, always searching, always second-guessing yourself. But deep down, there's a part of you that knows. It's the part that aches when you feel like you're wasting time. It's the part that lights up when you hear the word purpose. It's the part that refuses to settle for a life that doesn't feel full. That voice inside of you is not imagination, it's truth. It's your spirit remembering why you were made. There's a reason you don't fit in with the crowd. There's a reason you feel called to something higher, even when you don't have the words to explain it. You were not created to blend in. You were created to stand out in the way only you can. That doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean you need all the answers. It simply means you have to believe there's something inside you that matters, something the world needs. Stop comparing your journey to anyone else's. Their path isn't yours. Their timeline isn't your clock. The truth is, you're not behind. You're not broken. You're becoming, and everything you've lived through, every hurt, every disappointment, every quiet night wondering what it's all for, it's all part of the design. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Stay with this message, because the moment you begin to understand how deeply you are known, how specifically you were created, everything begins to shift. Doubt starts to lose its grip. Fear begins to fade. And the fire inside you, the one that's been quietly waiting, starts to rise. You don't have to chase purpose. You are already carrying it. And once you accept that truth, you'll stop shrinking to fit in and finally begin to rise into who you were born to be. Not someday, not when you have it all figured out, but now. Because now is the moment you start walking in the truth. You were chosen. And that changes everything. If you've ever asked yourself why life had to be so hard, why the pain came without warning, why the doors closed when you needed them to open, know this: your pain was not pointless. The heartbreak, the rejection, the seasons where everything felt empty, none of it was wasted. There are lessons planted in your suffering, and those lessons are shaping the strength you didn't know you had. That doesn't make the pain easy, but it does mean it had a purpose. You weren't being destroyed. You were being developed. It's hard to believe in a plan when you're surrounded by broken pieces. But those pieces are not the end of your story. They're part of your preparation. Every struggle you've survived has shaped your spirit, sharpened your mind, and stretched your heart. It's in the crushing that character is born. It's in the waiting that wisdom is formed. The pressure you felt, the weight you've carried, it's building the foundation you'll need for what's coming next. You may have thought you were forgotten. You may have felt like life passed you by. But nothing that's meant for you will ever miss you. And nothing you've lost can cancel what's already been written over your life. There's a strength being stirred in you through your pain. A strength that soft comfort could never give. Every tear was counted. Every silent cry was heard. The darkness you walked through didn't defeat you, it refined you. It carved out the space where purpose could finally take root. The world tells you to hide your wounds, to smile through the hurt, to pretend you're fine. But your wounds hold power. They remind you that you faced storms and still stood. They show you what it means to endure, to bend without breaking, to believe even when hope seemed out of reach. Your story isn't defined by what broke you. It's defined by what you chose to become because of it. It takes courage to keep going when the path is unclear. It takes strength to still believe when the pain hasn't passed. But that's exactly where your purpose gains depth. Not in the comfort, but in the chaos. Not in the certainty, but in the choice to rise. You are being shaped for something bigger than you can currently see. And the pain you've endured has prepared you to carry it with compassion, humility, and power. So don't curse the process. Don't bury your past. Don't be ashamed of what you've walked through. Let it fuel you. Let it remind you that you've already survived what tried to break you. And now you're stronger, wiser, bolder. You're no longer who you were, and that's a victory. The fire didn't burn you out. It forged something unstoppable in you. And now, with everything you've carried and everything you've overcome, you're finally ready to walk forward. Not as a victim of your past, but as a warrior with purpose. There will be moments when everything goes quiet, when prayers feel unanswered, when progress feels invisible, when every step forward feels like sinking deeper. Those moments test the core of who you are. Not because you failed, but because growth is often silent. You're not being ignored. You're being refined. Purpose doesn't always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes it reveals itself in stillness, in silence, in the spaces where it feels like nothing is happening. But everything is. When you can't see the path, it's not because there isn't one. It's because you're being invited to walk by faith, not by sight. You're being taught to listen deeper, to trust harder, to surrender your need to control. Because purpose isn't something you force, it's something you follow. And to follow it, you have to get quiet enough to hear it. That's why the silence matters. That's why the waiting is holy. It's not a pause, it's preparation. If everything was always loud and fast and clear, you'd never learn to hear your own soul. You'd never learn to sense when something is right or wrong. You'd always rely on signs, on voices, on outcomes. But sometimes the plan requires isolation, because it's in the quiet where you meet your real self. No masks, no noise, just truth. And in that truth, you realize that being led doesn't always feel like movement. Sometimes it feels like stillness. Sometimes it feels like being held in place until your heart is ready. The delays, the detours, the things that didn't work out the way you expected, they weren't detours, they were direction. You didn't miss anything. You were being shielded, redirected, strengthened. And every moment you spent wondering why now, why not yet, why me, was a chance to build endurance, to deepen trust, to become someone who can carry purpose without being crushed by it. This isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's about staying when you feel like running, trusting when you feel like doubting, believing when the world tells you it's pointless. It's about choosing to stay grounded even when everything around you feels uncertain. That's what makes purpose grow, not your pace, but your persistence. Not how fast you move, but how deeply you root yourself in faith. There is meaning in the quiet. There is alignment in the waiting. And when it feels like nothing's happening, that's often when the most is being done within you. You're not being left behind, you're being aligned. You're not being overlooked, you're being set apart. And when the time is right, what's meant for you will not miss you. You'll move forward not in desperation, but in confidence. Not because you forced it, but because you trusted the process. You don't have to figure it all out today. You just have to be willing to listen, to be still, to trust that even in silence the plan is unfolding. and you are exactly where you need to be. There comes a point when the waiting must end, not because the process is over, but because the decision must be made. You can't stay in preparation forever. At some point you have to step forward, not when you feel ready, not when all the pieces are in place, but now. Because now is the only moment you're guaranteed, and your purpose is not waiting for your perfection. It's waiting for your obedience, waiting for your courage to say yes before everything makes sense. Fear will try to convince you that you're not enough, that you need more time, that you'll fail. But fear is a liar, and if you keep letting it speak louder than your faith, you'll keep shrinking when you were born to rise. You don't need to know the whole path to take the first step. You just need to believe that the one who gave you this calling will also give you the strength to walk it, one step at a time, one choice at a time, one act of faith at a time. Stop asking for another sign. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission. You've already been called. You've already been chosen. And every time you hesitate, every time you delay, you distance yourself from the life you were born to live. You were not made to live in fear. You were not created to settle for safety. There's a fire in you for a reason, and the longer you ignore it, the more restless your soul becomes. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you move anyway. It means you show up even with shaking hands and trembling knees. Because deep down, you know what's on the other side of fear is everything you've prayed for. Your breakthrough, your purpose, your freedom. But you can't unlock what you won't walk toward. You can't live the life you were created for while clinging to the comfort of the one you've outgrown. This is your moment to rise, not someday, not when you feel stronger, now. Because the plan isn't waiting for you to feel worthy. It's waiting for you to trust that you already are. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to perform. You just need to show up with a willing heart and a surrendered spirit. That's enough. More than enough. Because purpose meets you in the action, not just in the vision. So move, speak, create, lead, forgive, build. Whatever you know you've been called to do, begin. Don't let fear rob you of one more day. Don't let doubt keep your gift buried. The world needs what's inside you. Not later, now. You were born for this moment. You were prepared through every trial. And now it's your time to walk in alignment, in truth, and in boldness. The plan is real. The purpose is ready. And so are you. Step forward. Because everything changes the moment you do. The moment you decide to walk in your purpose, everything shifts. The fears that used to paralyze you begin to lose their grip. The voices that once told you to stay small begin to fade. You start to realize that power was never something you had to find. It was something you had to uncover. It was always inside you, buried beneath the doubt, hidden behind the pain, waiting for your yes. And now that you've said it, you're no longer who you used to be. You're awake, you're aligned, you're ready. Purpose isn't about having the perfect plan. It's about showing up with faith when the path is unclear. It's about doing the small things with big commitment. It's about speaking truth when silence feels safer. The world may not understand the fire inside you, but you weren't made for their understanding. You were made to follow the call, even if it's lonely, even if it's misunderstood, even if it costs you comfort, approval, or applause. Purpose always asks for sacrifice, but what you gain in return is unshakable peace. The weight you once carried starts to feel lighter because you're no longer dragging it through confusion. You're walking with intention now. The fear still whispers, but it doesn't lead. The doubt still knocks, but you don't answer. You've learned to stand firm, not because everything is certain, but because your soul knows this is right. And when your soul is at peace, no chaos can steal that. You're not called to blend in. You're not here to meet expectations that were never yours to carry. The world tried to put labels on you, tried to box you in, tried to make you believe you had to earn your worth. But you've broken through that now. You've remembered who you are. And that memory is a weapon, a force, a return to truth. The truth that you are chosen, called, equipped, and enough. Not someday, not when everything looks perfect, but right now, in this exact moment. What once felt impossible now feels inevitable. Not because it's easy, but because you're committed. Because you've stopped waiting for the right feeling and started acting on the right decision. You've stopped searching for validation and started walking in your assignment. You've realized that purpose isn't about being fearless, it's about being faithful. And that kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of faith changes lives. That kind of faith changes you. So keep going, keep speaking, keep building. Keep choosing alignment over approval. Keep trusting that what's ahead is far greater than anything behind you. Don't shrink, don't pause, don't second-guess the fire that brought you this far. You've come through too much to turn back now. The plan is still alive. The calling is still active. And the moment you chose to walk forward, everything began to move with you. Keep walking, keep rising. You're not just stepping into purpose, you're becoming it. And nothing can stop what's already been set in motion.